Maybe also good afternoon and good evening to all participants from around the world. My name is Leah. I'm a psychiatry resident from the University Bali, Indonesia. I'm sorry for my voice has changed a bit because of COVID. I'm currently self-isolating at home and having a cough. I also want to apologize for turning off the camera during my presentation, but I hope you still can enjoy this presentation. Today, I will bring you a topic about the immune system and its relation to depression. The immune system and depression are interconnected through what is known as psychoneuroimmunology. It's a two-way relationship. What is psychoneuroimmunology? The psychoneuroimmunology, or also called psychoneuroendocrinology, is the study of how psychological, neural, and immunological processes interact and influence human health and behavior. It is known that psychosocial factors contribute to the development of many diseases, and that the immune system plays an important role in this relationship. The brain and the immune system communicate bi-directional through what we know as hypothalamus, pituitary adrenal axis, this HP axis being the link between. When we are exposed to stress, either it's physical or social, the amygdala will activate the hypothalamus. The HP axis is activated in response to exposure to stressful physical and psychological stimuli by means of the secretion of corticotropin releasing hormone by the hypothalamus. And this hormone in turn stimulates the synthesis of adrenocorticotropin hormone in the hypophysis, which is then stimulates the secretion of cortisol by the adrenal glands. And of course, then the peripheral immune system is activated. The regulation of the secretion of cortisol is subject to negative feedback mechanism by means of which cortisol itself inhibits the synthesis of its precursor, the corticotropin releasing hormone and adrenocorticotropin hormone. And this relationship is bidirectional, as the activation of the peripheral inflammatory response may also stimulate the HP axis. But in chronic situation where the stress is prolonged, this negative feedback mechanism will become chaos, and the inflammatory response will be activated continuously. And of course, it will give negative impact to our body. The products of this peripheral stimulation, like macrophages and lymphocytes, may cross the blood-brain barrier and trigger a neuroinflammatory reaction by stimulating the microglia. And this activation of microglia will generate an inflammatory cascade by releasing the cytokines. And this will give impact to what we call as a excessive release of excitotoxicity, and also this mechanism negatively affect the production of neurotrophic factors such as the brain-derived neurotrophic factor Udayana. As we know that many research show a relationship between the low level of BDNF and depression. And who plays the key role of this process? And its cytokines are the key mediators of the inflammatory response that coordinate cellular and humoral system to act against pathogens. And currently, cytokines are assessed in research on the relationship between stress and mental health, especially interleukin 1, interleukin 6, and also tumor factor alpha, which are a group of pro-inflammatory cytokines. The sympathetic nervous system can influence the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines by releasing the neurotransmitter norepinephrine to peripheral tissues, primary and secondary lymphoid organs, and all other major organ systems, including vascular and perivascular tissues. Once released, norepinephrine modulates immune response gene transcription through stimulation of beta-adrenergic receptors and possibly alpha-adrenergic signaling. This adrenergic signaling cascade suppresses transcription of antiviral interferon type 1 genes and increases transcription of pro-inflammatory immune response genes, interleukin 1, interleukin 6, TNF, leading to increased systemic inflammatory activity and increased antiviral activity. Therefore, ultimately, the sympathetic nervous system plays a central role in coordinating what we call as conserved transcriptional response diversity, which directs humoral immune system's responses between pro-inflammatory and antiviral phenotypes. The immune system can promote a rapid and effective inflammatory response to physical injury or the first sign of pathogen, which is critical for overcoming infection, repairing tissue damage, and increasing survival. Unfortunately, what can save us in the short term can also kill us in the long term. This is because persistently increased inflammatory activity can lead to oxidative stress, which can directly oxidize and also interfere with DNA repair mechanism. The most systematic evidence linking impaired immune system function with mental status is in the context of major depression. The social signal transduction theory of depression describes the complex set of social, psychological, and also biological mechanisms that link the experience of social stress with depression risk. And according to this theory, social stressors that increase the organism risk of physical threat, such as those involving social conflict, rejection, exclusion, isolation, are represented by the nervous system that processes the affective and interoceptive aspects of physical and social pain, including the anterior and dorsal visual cortex. These areas project signals to lower level brain regions, including the hypothalamus and brainstem autonomic control centers, which modulates the activity of the HPA axis and the peripheral nervous system, resulting in production of cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and acetylcholine, which then influences systemic inflammatory activity. And also, whereas cortisol and acetylcholine normally suppress but can also increase the inflammatory activity, or epinephrine and norepinephrine promote inflammation by inducing the activation of the intracellular transcription of nuclear factor kappa B and activator protein 1, which regulate the expression of pro-inflammatory immune response genes, including the interleukin 1 beta, interleukin 6, interleukin 8, and TNF. The expression of these genes ultimately leads to production of pro-inflammatory cytokines that cause depressive symptoms such as sad mood, anhedonia, fatigue, psychomotor retardation, and social behavioral withdrawal. In addition to other cognitive, affective, and somatic phenomena that often occur with depression, like increased alertness, increased anxiety, and also sensitivity to pain. So we move to biomarkers. Several biomarkers have been studied in relation to depression, like cortisol, CRP, cytokines. Depression and other mood disorders almost always involve memory impairment. Memory is a function of the hippocampus, a brain region which in glucocorticoid receptors. Chronically elevated cortisol levels as a result of chronic stress have been shown to decrease hippocampal volume and lead to neuronal loss, which is bound to impair memory. As expected, decreased hippocampal volume occurs in individuals with long-term depression, and it is possible that elevated cortisol may be a contributing factor. Several clinical studies have shown that cytokines like interleukin-6, interleukin-1 beta, and other inflammatory biomarkers like CRP are elevated in depressed patients without physical illness. Although it may not be used as a diagnostic tool because the result may be biased with other conditions, not only found high in depression, but also in schizophrenia and other conditions or other general conditions. Maybe we can use it to evaluate a response to the treatment we given to our patients in the future. But also it's still with more research, still with more studies in the future. Whether we can use these biomarkers or not. And we move to diet and nutrition. Maybe many participants already know about the relationship between mental health and diet, how the gut health can affect the mental health and vice versa. The brain and gut have a continuous dialogue through the gut-brain axis. Negative emotions and stress can interfere with gut motility. The gut-brain axis is relevant not only for these temporary conditions, but also for longer lasting conditions. Digestive disorders such as irritable bowel syndrome usually coincide with mood disorders, and both may reflect dysfunction of the composition of gut bacteria, viruses, and fungi, and associated chronic inflammation. Thus, manipulating the gut microbiota and its functions through probiotics and behavior is a promising therapeutic strategy. Adapting a healthy lifestyle, including stress management and diet, aims to maintain a gut bacteria population that supports healthy immune function, which in turn promotes mental and physical health. And it is widely recognized that exercise also affects both mental and physical health. Physical exercise affects the complex relationship between the nervous system and the immune system. Research on exercise in the context of psychoneuroimmunology shows that exercise can interact with psychosocial factors to influence immune response. Sorry for I was having cough. And some studies showed that exercise may increase the level of tryptophan and also 5-hydroxy indolylactic acid, and also increase the firing rates of certain neurons. And recently, many studies have investigated the role of anti-inflammatory in psychoneuroimmunology. And targeting inflammation may be a promising way to treat patients with depression. But the use of immunomodulating drugs has limitations, including low adherence to treatment due to adverse side effects such as gastrointestinal bleeding and potential harm from long-term use. So it's still with further studies about the the, the benefit of immunomodulating drugs. And then for the conclusion, the immune system and depression have a bidirectional link that influences each other. Inflammation can cause depression and vice versa. Exposure to chronic stressful situations can cause maladaptive response by the immune system, which will be involved in the pathophysiology of the patient. Immunological biomarkers may be helpful in the diagnosis and future management of depression. Management in the field of nutrition is important to note, and its application must be through an individual approach because not everyone has the same metabolism. The type and the amount cannot be generalized. The anti-inflammatory therapy that is proven to be effective in its role in the field of psychoneurology still needs to be investigated further regarding side effects and individual variations. And I think this is the last slide. Thank you. You may